Hello class, and thank you for joining me for IEC 216. We are beginning to enter into a journey of learning throughout this semester in language and literacy. I sent you out an email the other day explaining to you that we were going to be approaching this learning journey in a different way, probably than you've ever expected any professor to do. But I think it's a very, at the end of the road, at the end of the journey, at the end of the semester, you will begin to understand why I chose to teach this class in the manner that I did. So with that being said, the normal traditional way to teach a book is to actually go through chapter by chapter. Your textbook actually has 10 chapters, and the normal way of teaching would be to teach chapter 1 and then take a test on it, do some assignments, take a test, blah, blah, blah. Read chapter 2, do an assignment, take a test, blah, blah, blah. Read chapter 3, and so on and so forth. But I have found that when we enter into our 200 level classes here at KCTCS in early childhood, we are beginning to formulate and prepare for the next step in our journey, which is usually the majority of you are going to go on and transfer to a four-year college, at least as an IEC coordinator here at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. That's my hope for you, is that you will go on to a four-year and actually get a bachelor's degree, which will trump your associate degree, and then move on into the field of early childhood as a professional at that level. So with that being said, when you go to talk as a professional in early childhood, we don't sit and talk about just language and literacy. We don't just sit and talk about life sciences or creative expressions or whatever other class that you may be taking. But we talk about topics. We talk about standards. And that's why I want to begin to introduce you to the NACE teaching standards of learning and what is expected of a candidate that has an associate degree or that has a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. What is expected of you for you to be able to talk in terms of, quote, being a professional? So that's the way I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you according to the 6 NACE standards of teaching and learning. So standard 1 is universal in NACE for teachers who are teaching in early childhood, and it's basically promoting child development and learning. Very simple, right? Okay, NACE says this is what a standard 1 teacher should know. Candidates prepared in early childhood education degree programs are grounded in child development knowledge and base. We hope that you were grounded in that base in IEC 130, which is child development. Through KCTCS, that's one of your requirements that you are to take before you enter into a 200 level course. So you should have that knowledge base behind you or underneath your belt. This second component is where you go from just having a basic knowledge to understanding and being able to place that into practice. And this is what your standard says a candidate should do. They should use their understanding of young children's characteristics and needs and of multiple interacting influences on children's development and learning to create environments that are healthy, environments that are respectful, creating environments that are supportive, creating environments that are challenging for each child, And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how that standard applies to early childhood. How we're going to learn how to create environments that are healthy language and literacy environments. We're going to learn how to create environments that are respectful in language and literacy. We're going to learn how to create environments that are supportive in language and literacy. We're going to learn how to create environments that are challenging for the child based upon our knowledge and expertise of child development in language and literacy. If I were teaching a course on science, then I would say creating supportive environments or healthy environments or challenging environments in science. But we're going to be focusing this semester on language and literacy for children birth to age 8. Okay, so that standard, according to NACE, is broken down into small components. So they basically say 1A is knowing and understanding young children's characteristics and needs. 1B is knowing and understanding multiple influences. 1C is exactly what I said. Creating those healthy, creating those respectful, creating that supportive, creating that challenging environment in language and literacy. So how are we going to do that? Okay, well, if you go back to your course shelf and you print out for what we're going to do for week 2, it should look like something like this, right off of your course shelf thing. I printed it. No big deal. For week 2, we're going to read chapter 1. Foundations of Early Childhood Literacy. We're going to listen to Lecture 2A. We're going to do an assignment, Blog 2B, and it's worth 25 points. In Chapter 2, we're going to read page 25. We're going to listen to Lecture 2C. We're going to complete assignment 2D, and it's worth 10 points. And so on and so forth until we get down to the bottom. After we read Chapter 3, we're only dealing with Chapters 1, 2, and 3. And there are certain pages of Chapter 3 and Chapter 2 that we're dealing with. And we have assignments. Now, the cool part about this is if you set your portfolio up based upon these standards, and your portfolio meaning that when you finish the KCTCS IEC program, you're going to take a course called IEC 291, which is a practicum course. In that practicum course, depending on who your coordinator is, depending on their expectations of that course, but I'm going to talk about BCTC right now. At Bluegrass Community and Technical College, we have an IEC portfolio. That IEC portfolio is broken down into the 6 IEC standards. And you have to have documented work going behind every standard and substandard. So Miss Maria is going to tell you where to put these assignments in that portfolio. All these assignments here are going to go behind Standard 1 for language and literacy. And you're going to be ahead of the game when you get to IEC 291 because you've already started putting together work that corresponds with the standard. Isn't Miss Maria nice? Aren't I smart? Yes, I am. And you need to think that way about yourself, too. Okay, so print off what you're supposed to do so we can check mark this off and get going. Okay, so I'm going to end this lecture, and then I will see you in Lecture 2A.